Catherine, are you there? I hope you can't see anything in the background. I was trying to be really careful about that. I hope you're bright. Since you're the only one here, I think I'm gonna. There, maybe that's better. Are you here, Catherine? Because I see a like, and I know we were talking, but it didn't show as anybody in here. Now it shows one person here. And I'm just basically talking to myself. Hey, Brenda. So I wasn't talking to myself. And I have to keep remembering to look at the camera versus at myself, which I got used to on my phone when doing my regular videos. One thing I noticed, though, my mom was watching the replay this morning, and the sound was kind of choppy, like it broke up my words and stuff. So I don't know if that's an issue in doing on a computer, maybe. I'm not sure. Okay, I said hi to you, Brenda. Hey, Shelly Shell, how are you? Sorry, I didn't mean to lure you away. Sorry about that, Catherine. I am still getting the hang of reading the comments on this side, which I do like. On the only thing I like doing with the laptop is that I get to see more comments, whereas typically I hear that people can only see 1 or 2 comments when they're doing the live on their phone. So that's awesome, but I'm still slap happy because of the sleep issue. So it's going to take me a bit to get used to. And I also don't know how to change it to make it slower. So that's another thing I'm going to have to figure out. Because otherwise I'm not going to be able to keep up with anything. Although I am just going to be talking about my mom's surgical history and knee stuff and my schedule and stuff like that. This is a planned thing so I can update everybody, since I've been getting a ton of emails from everybody and just want to be able to get that out there. I'm good, Brenda. How are you? Hey, Crystal. Welcome back. Hey, Bridget. Welcome back to you too. She's good. That's one of the things I'm going to be going over today, because I have had a lot of people asking me what's going on, everything, and I haven't had a chance to really answer anything. So I'm going to go over the history of what happened ago, how it got to now, what's going on now, what my schedule is, so everybody kind of knows why I'm not around very often, and just giving kind of an update on what I'm planning on doing the next couple of weeks while she's still on home health care, and then going on about some affiliate stuff. Sorry if this is shaky. If I want to, I keep touching the computer, which is stacked on a couple boxes. Not very secure. I think Miley's not here to knock over, but any sleep? Well, I think I finally fell asleep at almost about 3. I got up at 5 to take the antibiotic out of the refrigerator, laid back down, didn't get up until 7. So overslept by like a half hour. Well, not really. I don't have a for sure schedule I have to wake up at. I actually was thinking today was Monday, so I was going to have to be up for the nurse who comes on Mondays and Wednesday mornings. I'm sorry, Monday and Thursday mornings. Huh. Does anybody else have an issue with my voice sounding like it's repeating in the background? I did notice when my mom was watching the replay this morning that it sounded, my voice got choppy every so often, but I didn't hear an issue with it repeating. So if you guys can let me know, I don't know how to fix it if that is the case, other than getting out and coming back in. But I don't know how to fix that. Does anybody have any ideas? Anybody that's done lives? Was there an echo last night? I can barely hear her TV, so I don't know that that's it. I don't even know if she has it on right now. Could be the acoustics. Did you guys hear it last night or super early this morning? Those of you that were here with me? Because there's less noise now than there was then, because I muted. This morning I had my TV on really quietly, but it's not even on. I mean, it's on, but it's muted. I know about not being awake yet. Yeah. I'll try a different location. Is it really bad? Once I know if it's really bad, then I'll go ahead and go forward with what I was planning on. But does anybody know how I can? Hey, Tanya. Oh, yeah, I was talking quieter. All right, anybody who has, okay. Oopsie, I don't know what I did just now, but does anybody know how to change the speed of the chat? You know how Krista can like slow it down or whatever? I'm not seeing anywhere to be able to do that. And that's probably one of the things I should have figured out last night, which was what the point of last night was. All right, well, it sounds like it's not as much of an issue. Sorry if there is. This is just the most comfortable place for me to be able to do this. Yeah, I know the room is large, so it could be bad acoustics, but if anyone who has done lives knows how to, yeah, I wouldn't have known, Catherine. I just don't want to hit anything that's going to like pop me out of chat or out of the video. Okay, so it's kind of a hit or miss thing. All right. Brenda, you can't see anyone? What do you mean? You can't see anybody else in chat? I see 8 people in here. There are 3 likes. All right, but anyway, I'm just going to start as far as with my mom because I want to try to keep this at an hour. So a little bit of history back in 2007. That's weird, Brenda. I don't know why you're only seeing yourself. I have Bridget, Crystal, Catherine, Tanya, all commenting. Not right this second, but they have commented recently. Okay, see you in a second, Brenda. Can you guys see Brenda? I haven't seen anybody else comment recently except her, so I don't know if something's going on or not. This is fun trying to figure all this out. Once I see someone else comment, I'll know. Okay. Okay, so you guys can see her, but she can't see you. All right, well, she's leaving and coming back, so hopefully that'll get figured out. Anyway, so going on to the history and updates. Yeah, that's what she's about to do. She's leaving and coming back. Okay, so back in 2007, my mom had her first total right knee replacement. In, I think it was June, like towards the end of June 2007. A week later, she ended up getting an infection. Honestly, it never totally looked great, even when leaving the hospital, but they assured us it was fine. So we left. A week later, over 4th of July, she's back in the hospital having another another surgery where the only option they gave us. Okay, Brenda, can you see anything now? They can all see you, but evidently, hopefully you can now see them. Anyway, so the only option they gave us was to go in, take out the joint only, not the metal that's in the femur or the plastic that's in the tibia, just the joint itself. Okay, good. So you can see everybody. Awesome. All they did was they took out the joint, cleaned it out, put it back in. Then 6 months later, December of 2007, she had a total knee replacement in the left knee. Knock on wood, no issues. 2 months later, February 2008, she ended up getting an infection again back in the right knee. Again, the only option they gave us was taking out the joint, cleaning it, and putting it back in. So that's what they did back then. Now, fast forward 11 years, the Saturday before her surgery, or the Saturday I fell at the dog park, all of a sudden, when she went to go, I can't remember, I went to the dog park in the morning, and then we were supposed to go to the dog park picnic. It's an annual thing, but I couldn't go. I was just too sore. And then went to our church. Our church had its annual festival. So we went there and saw some family, had some dinner, came home around 9 o'clock, or she laid down around 8:30, which is early for her, but she laid down around 8:30. And around 9, she said all of a sudden, all of her joints, and her shoulders, her elbows, even her muscles, her knees, everything started to really ache, except her knees, both knees got really, really bad. Like she tried to get up to go for a potty break, and she could not put any weight on her right knee, and her left knee wasn't that much better. So she didn't want to bother me, so she didn't let me know anything. She just tried to get comfortable and tried to sleep through the Sunday morning. Are you guys here? Because nobody's commenting, and that's fine if you guys are just listening to me. I just want to make sure my Wi-Fi hasn't gone wacko like it did last night or anything. Anyway, so Sunday morning we called our general practitioner's office, and the nurse practitioner answered, and she explained what was going on. Yeah, I know. My mom says hi. Okay, so anyway, Sunday morning, she just reminded me. Okay, cool, no problem. Just wanted to make sure you guys are here. Sunday morning, the nurse practitioner said the chances of it being an infection, because my mom was freaking out that it was an infection again in her right knee. They all said hi. She didn't hear me. But anyway, she said hi to you guys. So the chances of it having been an infection in the knee, which she was thinking it was because she felt a similar pain as she did the last 2 infections 11 years ago, of it being a knee infection with all of her joints having been aching at this point, only being the knees now, was slim to none. So they said, if you're not feeling any better, go to an urgent care. So Sunday, we ended up going to an urgent care clinic. They were amazing, but we went there. They tested her for the flu because they figured all of your joints are aching. Again, chances of it being an infection, there's no redness, your knee's not hot, you're not anything, there's no indication that it's specifically a knee infection. So they did a flu test, or a flu swab in the nose, and oh, you're selling your house, Bridget? Okay, anyway, sorry. So they tested for the flu, came back negative. They did a urine test to see if maybe it was a bladder infection or a urinary tract infection or something, came back negative. They were planning on sending it away for a culture. Now, the reason why our nurse practitioner or physician's assistant told us to go there was because she didn't really think it was an emergent type thing. And urgent care was like, we can draw blood, but we don't test it here. We have to send it away. So do you really want to, do that and waste the money and the time and everything waiting for it? And we didn't really want to. So they did what they could there. They were awesome. They gave her a broad spectrum antibiotic because they figured there's no specific thing that was screaming out infection, but it could have been one somewhere. So they wanted to start something. So we went, filled that, came home. She started it. they said, you know, if you're not getting any better by Monday, go to the emergency room because they can do tests there that, you know, they can get results back on right away. Monday, not feeling any better, can't put any weight on her right knee. Awesome, keeping fingers crossed for you. So no, not any better. We decided to go to the emergency room. So I had a doctor's appointment in the morning. So I went to my doctor's appointment, came back, went to the emergency room, explained everything to them. They were like, you know, chance of it being an infection in your knee, slim to none. There's nothing indicating that. Again, no redness, no heat, no this, whatever. If her TV gets in the way of anything, let me know and I'll ask her to turn it down. But for anyone who was here last night, I told you guys how she's going crazy because she is a type that is wanting to always do stuff. Her mind is going 1,000 miles a minute, and having to just sit there is driving her nuts. So I'd rather not ask her to turn her TV off. Hey, Sandy. How are you? I'm just going over history and update and everything on what's going on. Okay, so they did another urine test. Theirs came back positive, but not for sure. It was really weird. Like the levels kind of showed that there was possibly an infection, but possibly not. So they did some more in-depth testing, I guess. They did a bunch of stuff. They took some knee x-rays, which she can't even stand on the darn thing, sorry. And they're trying to have her bended and everything, which I get, but they can do them standing up. That's how they've done it in past surgeries where they would have her stand. But they made her lay down, get up on the table. Of course, I was the one that was helping her. I was the one helping her, like lifting her up and, you know, whatever, the entire time before we got to the hospital. In the hospital, same thing in the emergency room. I was the one that was helping her up, getting her to the bathroom, whatever. It was kind of nuts, but it is what it is. Oh, that's okay, Sandy. It was just kind of trying to see and figure out my way around the live so that I knew what I was doing today. Still not sure I know everything. Actually, if you know how to slow down chat, can you let me know, Sandy? Because I know you do lives. All right. So they did some tests, x-rays, and now they had like these TV monitors in the rooms that showed who your doctor is, nurses are, how many tests have been, like 15 blood work and 3 images and whatever. It kind of broke it down, and then it said how many were back. So they were coming back. They're like, we really don't have anything. We don't know what it is. Our last resort is going to be to tap the knee to see if it's an infection. But again, we don't think it is. Da, da, da. So the ER doc comes in and says, well, listen, they were just trying to figure out. So they ultimately ended up finding, or they went to one of the surgeons, and it's a teaching hospital. So the residents were really awesome. Mom, can you turn it down just a little? Thanks. Only because I can hear it really well in here. Yeah, I mean, listen to it just down a little bit. Sorry about that. I know she's watching me, so I'm hearing myself pretty loudly in there, which you guys might have heard. But anyway, okay, thanks, Bridget. Okay, so the resident, they had a senior resident who's a 5th year and a 1st year resident come down. They went to go tap the knee. At this point, we had been at the hospital, at the emergency room, I want to say like 8-9 hours. They went ahead, they started the tap. He was in there trying, I mean, it takes muscle to tap a joint, especially a big one like the knee. And he was trying, couldn't get anything, which is a good thing because if it was really badly infected, there should be a lot of fluid in there. So he's like, you know what, let's give it a second. We'll give you some more lidocaine and then we'll go from a different direction. I just want to be really thorough on this, which I'm grateful he did, because had he not, we would have been sent home and who knows what happened after that. So he went into a different location on the other side of the knee. And again, he had to mess with it a lot, but he finally found a little bit of fluid. And he said, typically we like it to be clear, but this is cloudy. It's not too bad. Maybe it's nothing. We're going to go ahead and test it. They kept saying she wasn't going to have to get admitted, even if it does show something, because the doctor's schedule was completely packed the next day. They weren't sure what was going to happen, but they said, we'll visit it at, once we know something. So they went ahead, they tested it, came back, I don't know, I think like 2 hours later or something, and said, there is an infection. It's not a matter of, is it really bad or is it not bad? It's an infection. We're admitting you, get you to the floor. And so that's what happened. We got up on the floor. I did not leave her side until I knew the nurses had everything that they needed. Again, I was the one helping her in and out of bed, getting dressed, whatever, because they're very short-staffed. So next morning I come in, and I'm very grateful to our boss, because he's been really awesome and understanding as not being able to come in or coming in for a short amount of times. So she was in that room almost all day, but they're gonna get her to the 5th floor, which is a surgical, I don't want to say suite, I guess that's what they call it, but it's the surgical floor. And I guess normally you go there after surgery, but they were trying to get her up before to make sure she had a room because they were really busy. They rushed us up there. They said, okay, we're getting ready. First of all, she needed an IV team she has really hard time getting any kind of, even for blood work, trying to get a vein is almost impossible with her. And they stuck her, I think at this point, like 8 times trying to get an IV going. So they were going to call the IV team. Well, in the time that they called the IV team, the 5th floor called and said, let's bring her up. So it kind of got crazy, but one of the 5th floor nurses we actually had 11 years ago when she had her first surgeries, and she was able to get an IV going. After all is said and done, I think she got stuck like 16 times, including the midline that they started in surgery, but it was crazy. Her arms were all black and blue from all these sticks. So they planned on surgery all day. They were saying she's getting in, she's getting in, she's getting in. Well, around 8 o'clock, they took her downstairs. 9 o'clock, I got a call that they were starting. They started right at 9. She got out of surgery, I think it was like 11:40. I want to say something like that. She went into recovery, got into the room, which finally at about 1-ish, I think, I finally just went back up to the room because she was staying in the same room. Got up there about 2:15. They wheeled her up. I've seen her during her surgeries. As kind of loopy as she was then, holy cow, total different loopy this time around. And evidently when she was in recovery, wait, let me check what you're saying. You need to slow down your chat before you start your live. Oh, okay. Thanks, Sandy. That's good to know. So I'll have to have maybe my mom's computer set up so I can do that. I don't even know where to go in the YouTube studio to do that. So if you can help me with that, that'd be awesome. Yeah, it's not fun getting stuck. And they were trying in the hands, which is one of the most painful areas. They were trying over here in the wrist, up here, over here. I mean, we took pictures of her arms. I mean, it was ridiculous how many bruises she had. I mean, this arm was almost, I'm not going to say one big bruise, but it was close to one bruise. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. What was I saying? Oh, loopy. I guess when she was in recovery, I guess one of the doctors that actually brought her up was really nice. And I guess he just kind of went with it. But she kept saying that she thought she was in a factory and that there were all these like shelving units and stuff. And he's like, I guess it could be a factory. We've got cabinets and things. And, he was just playing along with her. I mean, what else are you going to do? Argue with her? So she's in the room, and it's funny because here she is totally loopy and out of it, but yet she was remembering, okay, remember, we have to pay this bill and I have to write the check and I've got to do this. And I'm like, you're literally like post-op 2.5 hours. You are not out of, the anesthesia is not out of you, and you're remembering these things that you were afraid you were going to forget. So I had to laugh. So I, of course, brought that, reminded her about that. Hold on one second. Let me. That's all right. It is what it is. All right, Sandy, I'll come back and look at what you're saying. Yeah, the sticks do suck. So after that, I mean, the rest is history. She was in the hospital. Her surgery was late Monday night. Came back into the room early Tuesday morning, and got released Friday, I think. Of course, she was seen by infectious disease and wound care, primary physician, the surgeons and his residents and stuff. So it was kind of crazy. And of course, they all wanted her out of bed as soon as possible. I mean, she got back in the room 2:15ish Tuesday morning. And by Tuesday after lunchtime, they were already wanting her out of bed and getting into the chair that I was sleeping in. So yeah, they get you up as fast as possible. And she is a trooper, and she pushes herself because she wants to get better. So she was like really getting up and going. And I think that it may have been Wednesday that she ended up having to go to the bathroom. It was Wednesday morning that they took the catheter out. And so at this point, she's having to get up to go if she has to go. And I left to check on Miley. And of course, that's when she ended up needing to get up like 5 times. So the doctors were like, yeah, it's great. The surgeon was like, yeah, that's great. She got up and around, 20 feet. Well, that was before this marathon run to the bathroom 5 times. And I was like, no. I'm like, she did way more than 20 feet that day. I'm like, she did like crazy amount of feet. So they were happy with the process. Of course, it was draining, and she had a nerve block for a couple days, and a drain that she had to be careful of, and a heart monitor. So she had all this stuff hanging off of her, which we didn't have a pajama that had a pocket that could hold the heart monitor. So she had to stay in the hospital gowns, which were too big and just dragging everywhere. Yes, I have a fan because I'm warm for right now. So we get home. We get set up with home health care. We got home Friday night. I want to say we got home like 8, 9 o'clock, maybe 7, 8, something like that. Home health care came Saturday morning. They delivered all the supplies, which her antibiotics have to be refrigerated, and yeah, a week's worth of the bagged antibiotics. The bags are like this big, and they've got 2 large bags filled with those, and then they have the other one that's just in the syringe. That's light sensitive, so it's in like a brown plastic bag. Has to be in the fridge also. So I had to make room for that, and it was interesting. The nurse came in the morning and taught me what to do, which it was much different than 11 years ago, because she never had an IV bag dripping. It was just me pushing antibiotics. And of course, then I lived like an hour away. So I was coming in the morning and the evening after working, full-time hours, had a husband. So it was kind of crazy back then. Thankfully, I live in the detached mother-in-law unit that is on the back of her house with Miley. So right now, since surgery, I've been staying in her house and just going to let Miley out and hanging out with her when I can, because I don't want to bring her in here because she's so super hyper, and I don't want her accidentally scratching her leg or anything like that. So anyway, he taught me how to do the IV antibiotics and said, because of, this is the other thing, they took the cultures from the knee tap and wanted to figure out what type of infection it was. The problem is she had to have antibiotics before surgery, even in the hospital. Even forget what they gave us at the urgent care. In the hospital, they had to give her antibiotics to start them before surgery because there was an infection, which is a double-edged sword. It was a good thing and a bad thing. It was a good thing because they got it on board. Let me see if I'm missing anything. Hold on. Yeah, it is funny to see them all loopy, isn't it? Bye, Shelly. 16, Sandy. Holy crap. No, here's the other thing, and I forgot to say that. She doesn't actually have a joint in her knee. This time, instead of simply taking the joint out, thanks, Bridget. Instead of taking the joint out, cleaning it and putting it back, they did a total knee replacement. So after 11 years, they went in with chisels and everything and got the metal out of the femur, the plastic out of the tibia, the joint, got that all out, cleaned everything up, cleaned out any of the infected tissues and some of the scar tissue as much as they could. And they wanted to try to fix the massive scar that she had on that leg. And so they took out all of the old equipment, put in new equipment, except for the joint. It's actually an antibiotic spacer, and they put some antibiotic beads in there as well. So it's a partial weight bearing spacer. She can't put full weight on it. She has to walk with a walker until her next surgery when they put the joint in. And the antibiotic spacer is just consistently putting antibiotics out and trying to get rid of whatever is in there. And that's what I was starting to say as far as the cultures were concerned, because I was going on to the IV antibiotics that she has. The cultures, because she had to be started on antibiotics in the hospital before surgery, which she needed, that's a good thing. But the bad thing is unfortunately, it stopped the bacteria from actually growing. So the cultures that they took in the knee tap in the emergency room didn't show enough, because she had already started the broad spectrum antibiotic from the urgent care. And then the antibiotics that they hit her with in the hospital stopped anything that was growing, still growing in the knee from when they took the cultures when they were in the knee. So the cultures are not growing anything. So they can't target it with a specific antibiotic to hit a specific bacteria or infection. So they're hitting her with some major gunned antibiotics. So she needs to have blood drawn twice a week with the nurse, because they have to very closely monitor her kidney function, because the bagged IV antibiotic really can affect the kidneys, as well as hearing, as well as other stuff. But the kidneys are the big thing. So because there's nothing to target, they are using 2 big gunned antibiotics to try to kill and hit as many bacteria infections it could possibly be, to include what they were thinking it was in the first surgeries 11 years ago. So now she's got this spacer in her knee, so she has to be very careful on the way she moves. PT is not the same as it would be if you actually had a joint in there. Nothing is attached in her knee. It's just like I guess the best way to describe it is like a free floating disc in her knee. So with PT, she can do things, stretch the hamstrings, which you want to do so that they can get loosened and not be so tight. So you actually you can flex your leg, but she can't bend beyond like the natural bend when you walk. She can't do the exercises where you try to bend as far as you can, because that could pop the spacer in there. So there's things are kind of a little delicate here. So after the 6 weeks of these antibiotics that we're doing in home health care, she's going to go 6 to 8 weeks without any antibiotics. And the surgeons are going to make sure that I'm guessing it's the infectious disease doctor is going to take blood work and stuff to make sure there's no infection. He's like, I'm not going back in there if there's a chance that there's an infection in there. So once they know that there's no infection, they'll go back into the knee, which will now be the 5th surgery on that knee. The 3rd total knee. Oh no, they're not doing a total knee. They're just taking the spacer out and putting the joint back in, which he told her, listen, this is a surgery you have not had. We have taken out old equipment, which was a lot of work. We put that back in. You now have a spacer. So things are not the same as they were in the past. So don't worry that you don't feel like you're as far as you were at the same point then, which made her relax hearing it from him when we saw him last week. But yeah, so that's what's going on. So after about, I guess it'll be roughly 4 months is when they're going to go back in there to put the joint back in. And then the real PT starts, where she's going to have to really push herself and get the exercises going to try to get as much, what is it called? Function out of her knee, because she never really had full range of motion after the last surgeries, with all the scar tissue and everything else that built up in there. So we're hoping, since they took some of the scar tissue out, although scar tissue begets scar tissue, so that's also a double-edged sword, but we're hoping after the final surgery, she'll be able to get more, range of motion and everything out of it. So that's that. As far as my day, because I've had non-regular supportive subscribers email me saying, "You're not around. What's going on? You can't possibly be that busy." Da, 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 whatever, whatever. I'm not really worried about them, but they have been around saying things like that. As far as like what my day is, or both of our days, really. Right now, she has to, unless she has to be sitting with her feet on the floor, she's supposed to keep her legs elevated anytime she is not walking or sitting, like at the doctor's appointment or something like that. Because there has been a lot of swelling in her knee and her ankle. So she has to keep her legs elevated as much as possible, which is driving her batty, like I mentioned last night, because she is the type of person that tries to be up and around as much as possible. And her brain is on overdrive, thinking about all the things that need to happen or need to be done, and she would like to do and isn't able to. But let me see if I'm missing anything. Nope. Hey, Denisha, how are you? Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. Better mobility. Okay. So as far as my day is concerned, or our day really, we're up on Mondays and Thursdays. We try to be up at around 6:30, because the nurse who they typically don't start their day until 8 a.m. But because we start the antibiotic at 8 a.m. and she has to take the blood draw before the antibiotic starts, she's actually she's coming to the house at 7 a.m., which she normally doesn't get here until about 7:20. But so we get up, pretty early. I set my alarm clock for 5 a.m. because I have to get the antibiotic out of the refrigerator so that it can sit for 3 hours before we actually hang it. And then we get up 6:30, 7 o'clock. I get her something to put in her stomach so she can take some medication. And then I prepare everything. The other antibiotic she has to actually, they have you just hold it in your hand. It's in a syringe. They have you hold it for 5 minutes to get it to room temperature. And then around 8 o'clock, we go ahead. I have to flush and everything. And of course, everything's very sterile with alcohol wipes and everything. I do the flush. I put in the one antibiotic that I have to do over 5 minutes. I have to flush it again. And then I've already hung the bag and I have it prepared with the tubing. I go ahead and I attach that and I set it to what it's supposed to run at. Because it's all done by gravity versus the machines that they have in the hospital that force drip over a certain time, it's been taking anywhere from 2 to 3 hours for an hour and a half run. It's supposed to run over an hour and a half, but it takes 2 to 3 hours twice a day, which is crazy. But I go ahead, I set that up, that starts dripping. Then I go let Miley out, hang out with her for a few minutes, come in, make breakfast for us. We go ahead, we eat. And then I'll, either do dishes, whatever needs to be done around the house. And then after it's done dripping, I have to flush it, do the heparin, clean everything up. And of course, I mark her name off of everything because that's added security as far as identity theft can be. And then I either, if it's a day that she doesn't have doctor's appointments or PT, she hasn't been actually signed off on PT yet. So if it's not a day that she has doctor's appointments or PT, I'll go to the office from anywhere from an hour to 4 hours, depending on if there are later appointments. And if it's a day that she has appointments throughout the afternoon, I don't go into the office. Again, I'm very grateful to my boss, or our boss, who is very understanding and accepting of this. And then come back, do whatever, prepare. I always prepare lunch for her before I leave. I leave it either in a little cold baggie or whatever, so she has it. And then we'll have dinner in the evening. Of course, in between all this, I'm letting Miley out, hanging out with her for a little bit. Unfortunately, she hasn't had a chance to go to the park except for yesterday, first time in 2 weeks, which, she was super excited about. And then she went to the groomers, which she likes getting dirty. She doesn't like getting clean. She likes getting dirty. And then she's like, "Really, Mom, you're taking me to the groomer?" But now she smells like gingerbread. But anyway, so she's home. Then again, we have to make sure we're home by 5 o'clock at night so we could take the antibiotic out so it can sit for 3 hours. In the meantime, dinner, do dishes, laundry, whatever needs to be done, or help her with stuff. And then we go ahead and start the antibiotic again at 8 o'clock at night. and it runs for 2 to 3 hours. And then I set my clock for an hour and a half because, again, it's on gravity. So it's placement of her arm. It's just really anything can change how fast it drips. So so I set my alarm for an hour and a half so that I can check it at that point, and then I kind of watch it from there. So for both of us, it's kind of an interrupted relax if it's, with, just hanging out. And then, I go ahead and clean it or do everything that I need to take it off and put everything away and prepare all the syringes with the flushes and everything for the next morning. And then I go back to Miley to let her out one more time at night. And then I come back over and then we go to sleep, and then we start it all over in the morning. So it's been kind of hectic. I don't mind it. I enjoy medical stuff. So for me, this is something I enjoy when it comes to, hanging the IVs and flushing everything and going through the medical supplies and ordering medical supplies, which I've done on Amazon for stuff that either we can't get fast enough because we'll call the home health care people and they'll go ahead and put an order, but it always comes with the 1 weekly delivery. So if we need something before that, I'll either run to the drugstore or we'll order something on Amazon if I can't get it there or if it's too expensive. So that's kind of how things are or have been and will be until Christmas Eve. That's the last day that she has to be on the antibiotics, knock on wood. And she has a PICC line, which is put in. They typically do it on the right side, but because they had started a midline IV in the operating room, they couldn't put the PICC line in the right because it accesses the same vein. So they did it on the left side, and it's basically a really long catheter that goes like from right about here, and it comes across and it dumps out into the heart or just over the heart, so that all the medication, the one antibiotic that she's on is basically like putting acid in the veins. So like when she was getting in the hospital, they kept, I can't remember the word it was, but the IVs would go bad because her veins would start getting irritated and it couldn't get through anymore. Well, the PICC line, the purpose of it is because it comes straight down and then dumps into the heart. It's going into a major area, but area of blood flow, so it doesn't affect the veins as badly. So that we have to make sure it's always clean. The nurse changes the dressing on the PICC line once a week, if not, unless she has to do it twice a week because it's coming undone. The dressing on the incision, I have to change every day to every 2 days, depending on how it's draining. Right now, knock on wood, since we saw the surgeon, it doesn't seem to be draining much, so that's exciting. But the incision is about, I want to say maybe that long, roughly. So it's a really long, big incision down the leg. Hold on, let me see if I'm missing anything. Thanks, Denisha, I appreciate it. I know, she was so upset because she got all dirty and then she had to get clean. Oh, hi, Mom. I didn't realize Larissa is my mom, everyone. Oh, I guess you would see that since she said her sweet child. Your PICC line got infected? No, we are so insanely careful with it. I'm insane when it comes to being sterile when it comes to everything, especially medical. So we really monitor it. I mean, I clean it the 15 seconds and everything, and we do all the flushes and stuff. So, oh my gosh, I can't imagine. Obviously it's an extra place for an infection to, happen, but that we are very careful. If you want to share what happened with your PICC line and I'm hoping it wasn't anything really serious and that they were able to get it taken care of rather quickly. Thanks, Denisha. Yeah, sterile field is different. That is one thing. We are so, especially we're infections slap happy. So we're like insanely careful with everything. Even when I